Oh yeah, look, there's no doubt. I mean, the showdowns are always big, but because we're here at Adelaide Oval and the significance of the first game and everything else, yeah, feels like there's a little bit more on it. Feels like a really big game, obviously, for the week. It's been a long build-up for us, and I'm sure for the Crows. You know, we've had 2 weeks waiting, so yeah, it's a little bit more. I feel a little bit more tension in the game.
Brent, you said that during the week there was plenty to work with after that loss to Geelong.
Yep.
Rather than work with too much, have you honed down the specific stuff that you think you need to do in this game?
Yeah, we certainly have to respect the way Port Adelaide are playing. You know, this is a really good football team we're up against, and we saw what they did to Carlton, particularly after quarter time, and yeah, this is a really good footy side, so we've got to be at our best to beat them. So that's covering off everything, from getting our matchups right, ensuring that their key players don't get off the leash, working out what we do with our stoppages and our structure around stoppages. It's going to be a great battle through the midfield, you'd think, with Lobie versus Jacobs, and then of course the Crows midfield versus Port's midfield looks mouth-watering. So we'll have to be at our best to beat them.
In terms of key issues, what did you think was the real?
For us, it was structure around stoppages was the area that in the fourth quarter, when the game was there to be won, that we just pretty much played. We didn't go back to what works for us, and that's understanding your role and playing your role. Well, hopefully a lot. I mean, he's one of our nominated leaders, but he also brings a lot of experience back into the side. And along with Brent Riley, there's about 325 games of AFL experience back into our team from last week. So I know Riley hasn't played for a long time, but he's been training flat out since about August last year, and he didn't have an off season. So physically, he's fit and he's raring to go. Medically, he's been cleared for full contact, and we've seen him play. We've seen him play 2 games in the state league, plus the match simulation drills we've done. So we can't get those guys better prepared. And Douglas misses 2 weeks. He wouldn't have lost anything in those 2 weeks. So he'll be a really good inclusion for us as well. No, he's fine now. I just wanted to make sure, particularly with a guy coming back from a shoulder reconstruction, that he didn't put himself in any situations where it could increase the risk of further injury. So, I mean, Kenny and I were both at Geelong when Stephen Motlop first came back from a shoulder reconstruction, did it again. Just wanted to make sure that, just for his own confidence, that we avoided those situations where he put himself under unnecessary risks. But he said to me this week, and we spoke to his surgeon, that shoulder's not going to pop out. They've really wound that tight, so he's certainly ready to play. I'm sure Kenny would say the same. We both would be pushing very hard to win contested ball and tackles. There'll be probably two of the most hotly contested KPIs in both coaches' boxes. I think we'll both be looking at those numbers. Geelong beat us in both of those last week, which is one of the reasons why we lost the game. The basics are, if you win contested ball, you should win tackles. If you don't win contested ball, you should win tackles. So last week when we lost both was a huge reason why we lost the game. Yep. It's an interesting one. I'd probably have to ask the players that one, because I know from the feedback that we get from the players is the build-up is enormous for this game, and there's a lot of anxiety and pressure surrounding the build-up. But when the ball gets bounced, it's another game of footy. But it just feels like the hits are a little bit harder, the tackles are a little bit more fierce. The pressure when you're having a shot for goal seems to be magnified a little bit more. So there's certainly something in it, but the fact that it's a showdown shouldn't change our mindset towards wanting to win contested ball and wanting to tackle.
You talk about those matchups. How much is Wingard a challenge?
Oh yeah, that half forward line, Gray, Wingard, Monfries, is probably the envy of most sides in the competition. That's a difficult one for us. I like the form of Westhoff as well. He's a really important player for Port. We saw last week how critical he is to their success, and we have to have a good player on him. And their midfield too, Boak, Wines, Ebert, You know, Corns just gets the ball every week. So, and of course Jared. You know, Jared Polak's his game, particularly late last week, was really impressive. So, be a fantastic battle in the midfield. But I've probably named about 12 players there. Yeah.
Dangerfield, Sloan.
So where do you think your edge is then?
Oh, our edge. Oh, it'll be one in the midfield, and I think every coach would say that in any game you play, the team that gets on top in the midfield, it gives their forwards the better opportunity. I mean, looking in reflection for our round one game, you're not going to beat Geelong if you give them 62 inside 50s. We're not going to beat Port tomorrow night if we give them 62 inside 50s. Our team defence and our ability to win the ball in contest situations needs to be at its peak, at its best tomorrow.
Brenton, their finishes have been amazing the last 4 months or so. How do you increase that so that Hinkley's doing it for a time you don't get over?
Yeah, it's a really good question because this is a fit side, and you know Ken said in his press conference post game that you've got to pick runners against Port because or at any time they can embarrass you with their ability to get outside the contest. And even the way they recruited, you know, with Polak and White, they've just brought more speed and run into their team. So we just got to stop the ball getting out to those guys. We can't make it an open running game, you know. We can't make it a game of basketball almost where it's just turnover, down one end, turnover, down the other end, because Port probably wins that game against any team, let alone us. So we'll have to make sure that we make it a contest, keep it in close, don't let the ball get outside the contest.
Oh, look, I've had this conversation a few times now. For me, it's about the momentum of the game. It's, you know, our starts haven't been great, our finishes have been strong, but last year there was times where it was the opposite. You know, we had third quarters were issue. I think it's just what you do when you've got your time with the ball, and that's really important to us. So we've got to be damaging when we get the ball. We've got to hold up really well defensively when we haven't got the ball, and that's the key message that we have to get right now. If that's in the first 10 minutes that the Crows are coming up, because they'll have their turn, there's no doubt, and we'll have our turn with the ball at some stage during the game, and it'll ebb and flow a fair bit. It's how we're going to hold up when they've got the ball, I reckon. It's more important to me than, you know, whether it's the first 5 minutes or it's the last 5 minutes. It's about how we strongly defend when we need to.
Kim, what have you told Fleury considering Carlisle might be there?
Sorry,
What have you told Fleury about how to prepare for this game in case Carlisle has to withdraw?
Oh no, look. Simply, we've got some precautions in place if that was the case. Bobby's situation is a week away. It's not actually tomorrow, so we're not actually panicking too much about that. We're pretty comfortable that won't be the case. But Tommy, as much as anything, has played every game right through our NAB Cup and round one. So for him to have a weekend off and a rest and get him ready, if need be, we're in a pretty comfortable position that he's a young player needing a spell anyhow, and he's a really easy fit back into the side. He's really unlucky to go out. That's the facts. Yeah, well, I think his whole pre-season, I've been really impressed with him. He's a player that we have really high hopes for. You know, he's a 193, 194 type player who can really run, and his ball use either side, left or right foot, is an incredible kick. So, you know, we think he's got a massive future with us, and you know, I think if you're him, you can probably take a little bit away that they've been replaced by the fullback that's been fullback for a long time, and you know, that's probably just what happens in footy sometimes.
Kim, Brenton's just pretty well told you you're going to be strangled. How are you going to
We're going to try hard not to get strangled. Nah, look,
Are you comfortable if people do start locking you down?
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I make no secret, and Sando's just touched on it. I said after our last final last year that we lost the game because of contested ball. We focused on big time on contested ball over the summer, and we have to be better. In fact, we both know, without any doubt, if you can't win contested ball in football, you lose. You know, and then sometimes you'll dodge a bullet, but more often than not, if it goes against you in a big number, you're in all sorts of trouble.
Guys, are there any nerves ahead of the game? Yeah, I know it's another game, but is it expected to be a showdown in Adelaide Oval?
Oh yeah, plenty. This is a big week for South Australia. I mean, this is a world-class stadium we've got here now, and even when I played SANFL footy here, and there was 3,000 people here, it felt like it was a great atmosphere, and it still felt like it was loud. Can you imagine when there's 55,000 people here just going crazy in a showdown? I mean, this place is going to be absolutely rocking tomorrow night, and for every showdown. I think both football clubs, I know me personally, as coach of the Adelaide Crows, this is so exciting for our city, for our state, and for our football clubs, and we just can't wait for this game and obviously the future as well.
Are you wary of the 0-2 record you've got against Ken?
Yeah, I'm 0-2 against Ken, and I'm 2-2 against Port is my showdown record. But no, you guys know that Ken and I have played together, coached together, and now obviously enemies in one of the most bitter rivalries in AFL. So between the 3 hours of the game, we'll be doing our very best to try and outsmart and outwit each other. But at the end of the day, the better side's going to get up and win, and we'll look forward to the week after.
Have you got any tricks for each other? Any aces up the sleeve?
No, I don't think so. I think he knows what I'm like, and I've got a fair understanding of what he's like. You know what? Sando and I will have very little impact tomorrow night. We'll have very little impact. We're there to control what we've put in place all week. The 44 players that go out there, they are going to be significant, and they are the ones who perhaps are a little bit more on edge than us two. Yep. We've got a job, but we've probably got most of that done. Sando's just come out of his meeting. I've just had my training session. We're pretty much done. It's now over to the boys. Good luck, and as Sando says, may the best team come out on top.
Can you have some concerns ahead of round one, especially with clearances? Do you feel like you're on top of the issue?
Oh, it's round one, exactly right. Look, I think if you analyse every game, every week, you'll find an area of your game that you're not happy with. That's our jobs. You know, we've got to be critical of areas that we need to improve on, and we just make sure that we work hard on those areas and hope to see a result. But the next one might be another, after tomorrow night, there might be something else that we're looking at and something else we're talking about. The key ingredient there is you don't lose focus on what you've got to do, I reckon 99% of the time.
Can I ask both of you?
Sorry.
Yeah, both of you. What is par for this ground? You know, Etihad Stadium, a lot of times you have to kick 16, 17 goals to win. Some grounds is very low scoring. What do you expect from this ground?
You've played.
Well, we don't know. That's the honest truth. We've trained here twice. Port have trained here twice. There might be a Tony Hall pocket, but we don't know that yet. There might be a.
I've played on Tony Hall.
There might be somewhere in this ground where it's really impossible to kick a goal from, but neither of us know. I mean, that'll happen over time, but we're probably, I guess, the more both clubs play here, we'll get a feel for the ground. It feels like it's a bit narrower, it looks a little bit longer. There'll probably be one side that both sides prefer to attack from or defend from, so the honest answer is we don't really know until we've played a handful of games here to get a bit of a feel for. I mean, I said to Kenny this morning, this pocket looks really narrow here, but what that means, I'm not sure. But yeah, we'll have to just wait and see over time.
We have to go, guys.